because presently you can't really travel through time. But I thought I could waive next week's Kias if this group can guarantee me that you will score a certain score on the ACT, which you're taking next Tuesday. And if you don't, we'd have to travel back in time, and then you'd have to do the Kias.
Okay. That's not good. Yes.
Let's do it.
You don't even know what the score I want is.
26.
That is what I was thinking. 26.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
You can beat it. Yeah, well, defy the odds.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry about it though.
That's shocking. Yes. Everyone try this. Come on. Okay, hold still.
No. I'm not going to hurt you.
Don't trust me.
Hey.
Ready? Move that finger right there. That one. Move that finger. Move that finger right there. That one. Move that finger right there. That one. Move that finger right there. That one. Nobody. Over 5.
I don't even know how to get it back.
That finger right there. 1 for 6.
Dude, yeah, this is one that I need.
Your brain cannot figure out which finger, because it's backwards, right? And twisted. So when I told you to move that finger, you thought it was the other finger. Your brain was thinking that finger. It's a little mental trick. Yep.
I'm not no. I'm not no.
Yeah.
Are you yes?
No, I'm not yet.
No, I'm not yes. No.
There you go. Now we got it.
It ends in the CIS.
Really? Now let's see.
I need to actually get this.
Is this my Is this my drink? No.
Give me a few minutes of your time, and then work on your paper primarily.
What I did with the kids on the field trip. I'll just leave that.
I'm assuming they're pre-marked absent. I was hoping you would figure that out because I didn't know what to do.
Well, I know the ones that are like that went on, like that were here.
Okay, maybe give them like an F-team field trip. Also, hey, that's me. There are many of you that have not finished your fluid essays. That's crazy. There's even one of you who hasn't finished your objective. That's insane. Fix it. Okay, here we go. 2 slides. I'll be done. So yesterday, I introduced the idea that the progressive era was this time period when the federal government was seen as the solver of problems. The problems were identified by a group of people called muckrakers. And now we're going to start seeing what solutions they came up with to solve the problems that muckrakers identified. This picture has nothing to do with anything. I just find it fascinating. you could get lost staring into it. In the top are all of the bigwigs who led the American Revolution. And of course, in the middle is their leader, Jesus, who is really the inspiration for the American Revolution, right? And then down below, there's a carousel and the American flag, and God bless America, right? That has nothing to do with anything. On the right are the things that I want you to take note of, right? Question, who were the progressives? The answer is they were both Democrats and Republicans. Teddy Roosevelt was a progressive and he was a Republican. Woodrow Wilson was a progressive and he was a Democrat. It's just that progressives were a group of people who believed that the federal government could solve problems. So let's solve the issues of the day. Various issues. Alcohol. All right, well, let's ban alcohol. Women can't vote. All right, let's make sure women can vote. Immigration. All right, let's limit immigration. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here are the actions. Here are some actual actions that the federal government employed to solve the problems. And make sure you know what each one of them are. Does anyone know what an initiative is? These things still exist, by the way. They're part of the fabric, not only of the United States, but specifically Wisconsin. Wisconsin was the first state to come up with these three things: initiative, referendum, and recall. Does anyone know what any of them are? Somerset's about to have a referendum this spring. What is it? What? You're being specific here. But yes, you're right. The school district is asking the people of Somerset, the kind people of Somerset, to pay for various things, including, by the way, this class, which costs you $0, but it is not free. Each one of you costs the school district about $150. If you add it up, there's 34 of you. Multiply that by 150, and you get.
Is it per class as well? Because like there's other CIS classes.
Yeah, each one of you per class per student, $150. So we're talking about this class alone costs the school about $6,000. About $6,000. Your parents pay for that, whether they have a child in this class or not. They're paying for it. The parents of those people sitting over there are paying for you to take this class.
Thanks, Jack.
Wait a minute.
But it's expensive, and so the school district is asking the taxpayers of Somerset, can you please continue? We're going to add more CIS classes. That's more money. Will you please do it? So the definition of referendum is when the government entity proposes something and the citizens vote on it, which is different from what normally happens, and that is the people in the government propose it and then they vote on it themselves, right? Congress comes up with a bill and then they vote on it. It either passes or it doesn't pass. But here, the government entity is proposing it, and then the citizens are voting on it. That is a referendum. An initiative is the other way around. Just flip those two roles. You understand? Who can give me the definition of an initiative? And who votes on it? That's right. So if you think that, in fact, I believe that there is a movement going on right now in the state of Wisconsin to legalize weed. Let's legalize hooch. That is an initiative right now. Signatures are being gathered. If enough signatures are signed and verified as real, the people in Madison have to vote on it because Wisconsin has an initiative. They have to vote on it. So initiative is when the people come up with it, but the government people vote on it. Again, that's different from what normally happens, and that is the people in government propose it, and then they vote on it themselves. And then recalls. Does anyone know what that is? Wisconsin went through this about 10 years ago. Taking what back? A government official. 10 years ago, Governor Walker, that wasn't 10 years ago, more like five-ish. The people of Wisconsin elected Scott Walker. A year later, they tried to remove Scott Walker. He won that election, and then he was reelected. Scott Walker was elected 3 times in like 2 years. because it was like the end of his term, and then he won the recall election. But California removed their governor about 20 years ago. You know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is? He was the governor of California for a little while. He won the recall election. They tried to remove the old California governor by introducing a recall, and Arnold won that election. They successfully removed the governor of California. Fourth bullet here. Did you know that you directly elect senators? What'd they do before that? Because of this amendment, the 17th Amendment, how many of you get to vote in the next president? Oh, all of you get to vote in the next presidential. How many of you got to? Nobody got to vote in the next one. Okay. I'm answering my own questions here. When you vote in the next presidential election, you will not only vote for whoever's running for president, but you will also vote for who will be Wisconsin's representatives, who will be Wisconsin's senators, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's only since this amendment. What did they do before that? How were senators elected before that? That's a good guess, but wrong. That is also wrong and not even a good guess. When did Walker go through the recall election?
2010. Oh, no, the recall. 2000. So he was elected in 10.
Yeah.
9 or 10. And then the recall, I want to say,
It was pretty soon after that, wasn't it?
I want to say it was like 11.
11.
I want to say 11.
Yeah, and then he was reelected. I mean, he went through 3 elections. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, what was I saying? Oh, what happens was the people in Madison would vote for Wisconsin's 2 senators. They'd be elected by the state government. And now they eliminated that. You vote directly for your senators. And then one more here, the introduction of what are called primaries. So let's go back to the 2016 presidential election. The 2 major candidates for president were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Did Hillary Clinton win an election that year? She sure did. Very good. She won the Democratic nomination. The presidential election is an election between 2 winners. They both had to win the nomination of their party. And for the Republicans, I mean, they ran like 15 people, and Trump emerged from that. And the indication is that the Democratic field is around 20 now for the next election. They are just lining up to run against Trump. And whoever emerges from that will be the Democratic Party nominee. But that person will have won an election. When did that start? Right here. That's an increase in democracy. Not only are we picking the president, we're picking the people who run for president. Right? This is a visual of the 17th Amendment. What used to happen is that the people voted for the state legislatures who voted for the senators. Now the people vote directly for the senator. This green line is the 17th Amendment. You okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
I don't think you're okay.
Now I'm okay.
Okay. Any questions here? This slide really represents the awarding of women the right to vote nationally. This marks the 3rd, if I'm correct here, the 3rd national policy about who can vote. States get to decide who votes. States do. But what the federal government does is they say, all right, you get to decide who vote, but you cannot touch this or this or this. Age we haven't addressed yet, but that is true. You cannot deny the right to vote to people that are 18 or older. Okay, that's the 27th Amendment. We haven't gotten there yet. Gender is right here, 19th Amendment. Very good. What else have we addressed in this class? That's very good, right? The 1828 election denied land ownership as a requirement. Very good. And then I thought this was the most obvious one.
Right.
Race. Okay. Race, 15th Amendment. Okay. Other than that, Wisconsin, for example, I can never remember, is this true or not? Some states deny you the right to vote if you are a convicted felon. Other states say when you pay your price, it's done. You can vote again. Some states deny you the right to vote if you've been convicted of drunk driving. No longer, you do not deserve the ability to vote. Okay, this is another solution. Let's award the right to vote to women. Okay. Thank you. I'm done. How's about that? You have a paper. By the way, did we ever decide, am I waiving next week's 2 Kias?
Instead of these two? I mean.
No.
What I want, I'll tell you what, I will waive those 2 Kias, but you have to promise me that you will really, really try on the ACT next week.
I did.
Like, do your best. Okay? And not only, here's the beauty of it. Not only don't you have to do it, but I pretend you did and you get full credit. Why? Okay, you have to do it.
Okay.
All right, feel better?
Yeah.
That is weird. That is messed up. Okay.
That's great.
Everyone doesn't have to do it, but she does.
Okay.
And by the way, everyone gets whatever score she gets.
That's not.
That is messed up. Although she'd probably do pretty well. Okay, paper. Don't bother with the Kias. Don't worry about it. I mean, if you want to get started on the 5th and 6th Kias, okay. You have a document analysis. We're going to start doing that tomorrow on the atomic bombs. Off you go.
I'm gonna do real good on this.
You're not part of this little equation.